I guess the same question then is with this message of life, right? It's all throughout the Bible, but in the Old Testament, it talks about long life, right? Well, if you're 90, long life is going to look like what, 120, 130? If you're 130, long life might look like 180. If you're 180, it might look like 300. Like, how long is long life? It only gets longer the longer you live. But are we willing to let God give us a story for what it looks like to live an abundant life? Are we
Mhm.
willing to let God write our story in regards to what does it look like to experience this abundant, immortal, overflowing life without end that gets not just increasing in quantity, so you're 300 in a weakened body, but increasing quality. So you look in your 20s or 30s maybe with strength and vitality, and you feel good and you think clearly, and you don't have joint pain and problems, and your eyesight isn't difficult, and like all of the things that people are afraid of. Are we willing to let God rewrite our story? Are we willing to let him give us new stories of what it looks like to live in overflowing abundant life? And I think if nothing else, that's where it starts. Like, God, will you give me a story?
Mhm, mhm. And I'm just making it very practical. So, because God has revealed on a timeline twice of how long I'll live, what I do is let my imagination and my meditation start to think about a story. And just today, I mean, you are a nurse and we can talk about this. I was thinking because I read through Abraham and Sarah and just some different encounters that I had had with it. And I went, well, think about it. I went, does that well, that means if I'm a female, that estrogen's gonna kick in again. I went, does that mean that I'll menstruate again? I went, oh, we gotta have a conversation about this. I mean, when you think about being restored and getting newer, and so I'm having this conversation with the reality of my body getting younger and living in that state where those things are there. And so when you have that conversation, it creates a library around you where Jesus goes, "Help, let me take this book off and we'll have the discussion about it." But I actually had the conversation. I go, "Well, yep, the increased estrogen." I go, "Yep, okay, I'm good with that." And I was just thinking about what Sarah went through and putting ourselves in her position, in Abraham's position, and actually having the conversation, because remember, the glory was over their tent. Remember, it talks about the blessing of her bowl in hospitality, that it was perpetual and then it never went away.
Yeah.
And we just begin to have these, what we might consider goofy conversations with the Lord. And he just goes, "I'd love to talk to you about this." Well, what does that look like if it's, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years out? What does that look like? Well, ask him, what does it look like? How will I live? Where will I live? What will it be like? What will my life be like? Where will my kids be? How old will my kids be? How old will my granddaughter be? I talk about this stuff because it's building a story, a framework of death and decay being rooted out of my life.
Yeah. And I think getting curious is such a like it's not something you said, but it's something you're expressing in everything you're saying. You're getting curious about what could this story look like as it unfolds. Like, I think if we have this curiosity about, okay, God's given me this promise, well, what is that going to look like? And if it's something where a woman starts having her monthly cycle again, like, what if it doesn't involve cramping and pain, right? Like, what can I get curious that what if that life of heaven in my body actually happens in such a way that it isn't uncomfortable, it's just present, right?